Hello, everyone. Champions Pro Rick Witzkin, and this is Pickleball. Fabian, good afternoon. How are you today?
What is going on, Rick? We're back at it again, and I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. But I think my first question to you is going to be, did you go to the race? If you're a listener to this show, you know we're based out of beautiful Indianapolis, Indiana. The month of May is a very special month here in Indy, home to the largest single-day sporting event in the entire world, the Indianapolis 500. Did you go?
Well, I'm going to answer a question with a question. Did you know
You can't
that
do that.
I am an Indy driver? The teams have been divulged on CSP, and I am an Indy driver. So it almost seems like if you live in Indianapolis and you are an Indy driver, you've got to go to some form of the Indy 500. I did not go to the race. However, my wife and I did make it there for Carb Day, which was rain intermittent, which was fine. And it's really good vibes and music. And boy, I mean, I'm honestly not really a race car fan, but just going there for the pageantry, I mean, literally the F-16s flew over our house to get to the track. And you could almost feel the reverberations of that dynamic. And by the way, it was televised live, which was pretty cool because,
Second year in a row.
That's amazing. I really appreciate that. And I think the pageantry of Back Home Again, and obviously the national anthem, and then all the military salutes for Memorial Weekend. And it's just such a beautiful thing. And boy, I mean, the closest finish in the history of the Indy 500, that's pretty amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. We ended up like going outside for something just with the kids. Maybe we were at the pool or something on Sunday, but came back because there was that rain delay. Or I think actually we tried to go play pickleball somewhere with the kids, and there was that rain delay. And then when we had come back, our friends were telling us about it, that there was some like shootout or whatever they call it. So it was exciting finish to the race.
Well, what a diverse mindset you must have to go through full speed 215, 220, 230 mph, and then poof, there comes the yellow flag, and therefore you're slowing down and waiting for a restart. And obviously, I did learn things by listening and watching that I did not know in regards to like the new tread, how that kicks up your start when you are all bunched together on a yellow flag. That new tread can really zoom you ahead of other drivers. And certainly very interesting to see how you might trail somebody in their downwinds to like maybe save on your fuel and things like that. It's pretty neat to hear those explanations. But we could parlay that into a pickleball mindset in that when you have a rain delay in your match, like, what are you going to do? Clearly, Fabian, we spend more of our time playing indoor events than we do outdoors. But let's say you are playing an outdoor event and there's a rain delay. What would you do?
I mean, depends on how long the delay is, how many games have I had leading up to it, right? I think, let's say you've had a relatively long day, you're making it to the point where you're going to play for a medal or something, or you're heading into semifinals. I would say I would rest. I would get off my feet. I would rest, maybe do some stretching, but I would try not to be walking around and exerting more energy than I need to do. Maybe getting some food in as well.
I think the hydration is important too, right? If you have rain, you clearly expect humid weather, which means you're going to sweat more, which means you better hydrate more. So that's something to consider. But I think it's in general a wise thing to, you said like timeliness. You don't know how long the rain's going to last, but I would look at a radar and see what it says it appears to be, because, being in a little spit shower versus being in a torrential downpour for 2 hours, those are very different perspectives. If I can get away from a tournament site, I do like to get away from a tournament site. So I think it just absolutely matters how long that's going to be. But, I'm saying also, as you well know, Fabian, being a term director, and Kristen too, that more and more tournaments are going to all indoors. So we talked about that, I think, on our last podcast a little bit. But, at the end of the day, it's less expensive to run tournaments out at outdoor facilities versus indoors. So you've got the offset fee structure of that, but it's why the CSP is all indoors. We don't want these people coming from all over the country, and we have people from all over the world. We got Australians that fly in for these events. So very excited to have our first CSP event in end of July, knowing that it's going to be indoors in Chicago.
Yeah, and for those of you that maybe haven't followed it, when Rick is talking about CSP, formerly known as the NPL, has now partnered with MLP and have changed their name to the CSP, the Champions Series Pickleball, right?
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing today. I was teaching Third Shot, and shout out to Third Shot for hosting this show. But I do want you to know that, like, I literally saw a guy that I knew. I said hello. We were walking out. He's like, "Oh, by the way, I got drafted by Austin, and he's a 16 over." And I'm like, I couldn't remember who that was, but it's pretty cool because we're now jumping into 3 decades, not one, for this year. You got the 40 plus, and then the 50 plus, which it's always been. And then the 60 plus has their own separate bracket as well. So excited to roll out all three.
And that was a player at our club?
Yes. He played at our club today. I don't think he lives in town, but he was a friend of Mary Reed's and playing with them.
Yeah, I was actually there at that same time and was looking over at their games, and they looked really good. Some good quality games. Well, let's jump into it, Rick. I want to give listeners a recap on, I think we kind of left him on the cliffhanger. I was heading into my first singles tournament at one of the biggest tournaments here in Indiana, actually the Greatest Spectacle in Racing qualifier event for Worlds in Dallas is where we last left off. It was my first singles tournament playing with the brand new paddle, Area Cyclone. And, it went about as well as anybody would expect for it to go. I didn't win a single game, but I lowered some DUPRs. So I was happy with that result. I had a ton of fun. Ended up going 0-5, so did not make it out of my pool. But, man, I have a whole new appreciation for singles players, people that play, singles tournaments. It's just a different level of pressure, and the games go by so fast. They go by so fast. You can blink an eye and you're just like done. And you're like, what happened?
So is it a thing, Fabian, where lowering DUPRs of your opponent feels like an accomplishment?
No, I say that in jest. It's just, it's funny. Somebody mentioned that, somebody said that to me one day. I'm like, that's a hilarious way to spin a loss. Right. So that's not the reason I go in there. I'm not that vindictive, but I think I'm just a little bitter that maybe I didn't win a game. But I never got pickled. So that I had 3 goals going into it: was have fun, don't get pickled, and win a game. And I accomplished 2 out of 3 and still had a great time.
Well, it is true that if you get closer to your competitor in that game score, that can help your DUPR, right? It's not only lowering theirs, it could help yours if you have a competitive score. So I'm proud of you for that. But what I also thought you were going to say, one of your 3 things you went in was doing a split step before your opponent hit the ball. Were you not thinking that too?
No, and you know what? Like, I was watching it. I was asking all of my friends that I know that play singles just to give me advice. And, for the most part, everybody's like, focus on your serve and return. I think I went too hard on trying to get like deep returns. And so I lost a lot of points there. But a lot of the stuff that I was watching online, just to kind of like ease my mind, was just like, you get a good return shot in and then just go into the net. And I just think that my inexperience really showed, because there was times where I probably should have stayed at the baseline and waited for maybe the right shot to come in versus just rushing into the net, because that's what I thought I had to do regardless of the shot. And then I would just get past, right? So that was a learning moment for me. But a lot of that, like I mentioned, was just total inexperience and just not having enough reps under my belt.
Well, I want to just tell you, I'm proud of you for entering the singles. There's so many players, especially at the amateur level, that have stayed away from singles because the fear of the unknown, they feel like the physicality of it, not their jam. But I just think nobody really knows if they're going to enjoy singles until they enter a multi-match tournament or round robin, because you can grow as a player. And I'm proud of you for have fun being number one perspective. Enjoy it. And I also wanted to mention that in regards to the split step, the balancing act prior to your opponent hitting the ball, that physiologically is also so important to balance your body, but it's proven that it also balances your brain when you do that split step right when they hit. And I had a tennis player in my pickleball class today say, "Oh, you're talking about getting set in no man's land. Why would you do that, coach?" I said, "Please don't refer to the transition area as no man's land. That is a tennis thing, and that is not a mindset of higher level pickleball. You're not afraid to be in the transition area." In fact, when I started playing pro tournaments in singles, Fabian, I played a guy named Kyle Yates multiple times, and I kept getting better against him, and then took a game off him, and then we were in a dogfight. But in the very beginning, I thought, man, this guy is hitting drops when I'm coming in, and he's coming in to 3 feet inside the baseline in no man's land. And whatever strategy he's using to like cut the angles down a little bit is working quite well against me. It's annoying me because in tennis, that would not fly. So hitting a good drop or even kind of a crisp angle coming in 2 or 3 steps to cut off the angles that they can hit from below the net, as the serving player hitting their third, it's a really wise thing to do. So that is a nice golden nugget on this show, is hit your drops or angles off your thirds and then come in 2 or 3 steps. Do get set. Don't rush in or you're in big trouble. But it's a really wise thing to do. Kyle did that quite well against me multiple times.
Yeah. And I'll mention one more thing before we move on, is that the other thing that I did, and I just could not get out of this like endless loop, is I just kept hitting the ball to where my opponent was. Right. And I think part of that was like, I just don't want to miss. Right. So instead of going for the shot where he wasn't, or if I saw him leaning or something and going opposite of where he is, I was just hitting the ball directly to them. Right. And giving them the opportunity to do what I should have been doing, which is hit where they're not. And I couldn't get out of that loop. It was very frustrating.
It almost seems like you were in the drill mindset, right? In drilling, sometimes we drill too much, just hitting to the person across the net. And I strongly recommend drills that kind of move you and your drill partner in different directions so you don't get in the habit. Because it sounds so basic to hit away from your opponent, but if you're used to drilling head to head, half court, that's it, then you can kind of forget to hit into the open spaces too and hit behind your opponent, which is wise in singles too.
Right. Yeah. So that was singles. And I'll mention that Third Shot here in Indy, we are hosting a singles only tournament on Saturday, June 20th. The registration is live for that on pickleballtournaments.com. We've got early bird pricing through the first week of June. So I believe that's $40 for entry. So relatively inexpensive as far as tournaments go. But it's a Saturday focused only on singles. So if you're looking for your chance to hop in and play some competitive games against some great players, now's your opportunity. We'll leave the link to registration in the in the description for this episode. But yeah, if you're looking to play singles, go ahead and do that. Doubles. So this is where the magic happens, Rick.
Hey, Fabian, can I interrupt you for a second?
Sure.
I want you to tell me 3 reasons why you'd want to enter a singles tournament.
Me personally, I would say that I want to challenge myself at doing something that I wouldn't consider myself very good at, right? So one is the challenge of getting better at something. 2, have a ton of fun. Singles tournaments are so much fun. And 3, I would say just meet more players. It's a great opportunity to meet more people. Those would be my personal reasons.
Okay, and I'd like to expand on that. You don't have a partner that's going to hurt you, that'll make you lose. Because how many times have we heard people say, "Oh, my partner didn't do this or that"? No excuses. It's all on you. It's a good thing to be all on you. also the fitness, it's more demanding playing singles than doubles or mixed.
Oh, yeah.
That's a fact. And then as you get to the pro level, you don't have to split your prize money with anybody. You get it all. I think those are the reasons why I would play singles, and I like your
We've got two different mindsets here, Rick.
Fair enough.
You've actually made money playing pickleball.
Yeah.
Okay, so recap on how we got here. Why are we even talking about this? At the beginning of, sometime in April, DUPR decided to do a reset, right? So this was an opportunity for players such as myself who have a DUPR score that they believe is lower than what it should be based on any number of factors, right? Partners being a main reason for that. So there's this window of time where you could go play a minimum of 8 matches with 2 different players, or 2 different partners rather. With 2 different partners, and your new DUPR score would be based on whatever that cumulative score is of all those games within this window. We're recording a video series called Road to 4.0. That's my big goal for 2026, is to get to 4.0 and above. And the first tournament that we played at, didn't win a single game. Went back and watched all my footage. Turned out that I was the guy that was making all the mistakes. And so really learned a lot from that. Took that into the next event that I went into, which wasn't a tournament, but our club at home, Third Shot, hosted a DUPR night, played with a different partner who was going to be my partner for this upcoming Greatest Spectacle tournament. And we went 6-2. So we're really gelling, playing off of each other, talking really well. So I had a bunch of confidence going into the tournament. But you never know, right? Like, you can be as confident as you want, but you never really know. That first tournament, we played a bunch of bangers. And the thing that I was really concerned about was just my blocks at the kitchen. And how do I keep those under control? How do I de-weaponize what they're doing to me and bring them in closer to the net? Because what I was doing wasn't working. So we went into that event very hopeful. I was very excited about this partnership. His name's Justin, great left side player, but we were playing straight up. And so we started off hot, won our first 2 games, went into game 3. We had the lead, lost a close match in game 3, and then lost game 4 as well. Another close one that we probably just kind of took our foot off the gas. Maybe we were losing steam. Going into game 5, we really didn't know where people stood in terms of wins and losses, and we really didn't know whether or not 2 teams were going to make it out of our pool or top 3. And luckily, we played really well. We were up 7-0. They kind of came back and made a run. So it was like 5-7. And then I think at that point we decided to stack and kept Justin on the left. And that proved to be very successful. I don't think people could handle kind of not looking for the weakness in our game when I was on the left-hand side. So we won that game. Come to find out that the winner of that game was going to be the 3rd place team to kind of move forward into the quarterfinals and then semis and finals. So we get to the quarters and played a team, the team from the other pool. So whatever that seeded team, we played them, won that game pretty easily. And then had to go on a run where we beat the 2 teams that we lost to previously. We had to beat them to get out of semis and then for gold. And that strategy of, keeping him on the left and stacking worked really well. And then I just found that I was making too many mistakes, just playing too conservative. Like, some of my drops were either too high or going into the net. And I just said, screw it. If we're going to lose, I don't want to lose putting shots into the net or just giving people putaways. So I trusted in my drive, and that set up a lot of pop-ups and opportunities for Justin. And we ended up taking gold. So now we're happily going to be headed to Dallas for the World Championships. And I got my first gold medal at 3.5.
That's amazing. Congratulations to you and your partner. For those who seem a little unsure why Fabian's giving his play-by-play on his tournament, I would think this is the most significant achievement of your young pickleball career. And what I like them to take away from that, Fabian, is that it was a strategy change that change the outcome. It's pretty cool when you think about seeing teams play in a round robin format in the preliminary rounds. Then when you go into the tournament elimination rounds, how you can really use intel from that preliminary round to change strategy. Obviously, you guys stacking was a profound and significant alteration for your success. Clearly, you saying, you know what, I'm just going to drive because my drops weren't working. It's not always wise to just drive balls, but if you're driving on point, you're feeling good about it, and more importantly, you're not feeling good about your drops, then you got to do it or lob. And I'm just super proud of you for making changes that went into knockout rounds that the intel told you, don't play this way, play that way. Stack versus not stack. That's great. And I think the biggest flaw of amateur players in tournament play is losing the same way. Even mid-match, if you're down 8-1, 9-2, got killed the first game, losing the second, change your ways. Even if it's not exactly what comes natural to you, start lobbing. Hit a lob serve. Hit an inverted twist serve. Hit some slice returns. Mix it up and say you lost 11-1, 11-1. Okay, you tried a lot of different things. Do not lose the same way, or you're really not playing to get better and reach your potential.
Yeah, and we were honestly, thank you for saying some of that stuff, but we were on the same page, right? It was just like, we can't lose to this team in the same way that we lost the first time. Like, if we didn't learn anything from that, that's on us, and we probably deserve to lose. And it should be harder for teams to beat you twice, right? Like, the losing team should look at, okay, what happened? And if they're going to continue to play the same way, how can we capitalize on what they were doing? And one team in particular was just all slice. Everything slice serves, slice returns. And we were just able, instead of hitting the drop, which was kind of dying off my paddle because I wasn't getting into it, like under it, I just put a little bit more pace on it, started to drive it, and it just that ended up working. So that was good.
One other parallel I want to draw is just, I'm sure if I was a little birdie on the wall and could hear your communication with your partner in between matches, that in between match communication is super important. It sounds like you guys are on the same page, agreeing with your strategical changes. And when you think about what the New York Knicks are doing in the NBA playoffs right now, I think they've won like 11 straight games and won their, clinching games by 20 plus points, and they're blowing teams out of the water. And I think about the Pacers' run last year to the NBA finals and how their chemistry was unbelievable. You could tell that was just total glue of players belonging, getting together, like all for one goal. And the love was insane. Like, you got to feel like you have that chemistry evolving on the sidelines between matches. Not to be too dramatic about it, but I do think that just kind of going into yourself, I need to do this to be ready for the next match. How about, what does your partner need too from you, so you guys can get like that walking out to the court? Those things matter. I wasn't a birdie on the wall, but I would imagine your chemistry with your partner was pretty awesome going into that knockout round.
Yeah. And we, in between points, we took every timeout that we could. Whenever it was necessary. I think there was a lot of teams that left that opportunity on the table where they could have slowed down some of our momentum, and they just chose not to, or maybe just didn't think about it because they were too kind of focused on trying to regain the game. But, we would talk strategy, and he would ask me, I would ask him, and we were always on the same page, which, yeah, to your point, is very helpful, right? And just keeping a positive attitude regardless of whether somebody makes mistakes, right? I think his little nudge was just like, hey, stay consistent, right? And I knew that was him to a certain extent, getting annoyed that like I missed maybe an easy shot, but it was a nice enough nudge to be like, yep, absolutely. I know exactly what you mean, right? Instead of like, how could you miss that shot? Or why'd you miss that shot? Or rolling your eyes or doing whatever.
That's awesome. I want to move into a few more nuggets today in regards to coaching that I think people can benefit from who are listening. And specifically today, I was talking about the lateral movement with the legs versus the crisscrossing your stride pattern to step across, because you can still make it just like you would in tennis where you do a crisscross step, but then you're leaving so much court open that it can get you in trouble. So basically, if you are going from the center of the court towards the sideline, if you're doing a crisscross step where you're crossing over one over the other, you're a little bit in trouble. So doing an open stance shuffle to get there makes a lot more sense than the crisscross stride pattern. So that's one thing I want our listeners to understand. And then also, if you are further back from the kitchen line when you do your split step, which is such an important function that we're talking about today, then go ahead and do your step in vertically with your diagonal step, because you're not violating the kitchen line. So if the ball is coming to you in the transition area and you're further back, let's say you're 4 feet off the kitchen line, then step with a long vertical lunge so you can engage the whole body into that volley, rather than just doing what you would do when you're at the kitchen, which is kind of just using your upper body. If you can step in and use that whole inertia and momentum in your volley because you're off the kitchen line, then do so. And too many times we get so caught up in not stepping into volleys because it's a violation. It's not a violation if you're further back than the kitchen. So make sure you do that, people, to engage the whole body into your volleys.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of stuff, previous guest on the show, Matt Manassi, has been posting a lot about this. And I think everybody talks about, to what you're saying, how important footwork is, not just the lateral shuffle step, but one of the things that I've really been seeing and try to focus on is like not every stride or step should be the same length, right? Like those little tiny adjustment steps to put your body in the right position to hit the ball versus like overstepping and maybe getting yourself out of position.
Very true. And I even helped a college girl, goes to IU, plays in the IU club pickleball today, and her feet were this close together on the serve. I'm like, get a wider base on your serve so you can use your whole hip and shoulder action, and then sweep that back leg all the way through into the court and then hop back so you don't get caught with a deep return. But my word, that's arguably that, and on your forehand drive, you should have the widest base, right? So you can get as much torque from the whole body rather than your feet narrowly close together. But I agree with you, Fabian. Little shuffle steps and big shuffle steps, little diagonal steps, big diagonal steps, long lunge steps, and those should all go into the equation when you think about the oncoming speed, the oncoming spin or backspin. All of that matters, and that's a really good point.
Yeah. So I do have a question for you, and this is like something I've heard Dave Fleming kind of mention. So for you guys to know, he's like the main commentator on the PPA. So when the pros are playing, if you hear a voice with all these crazy sayings, more than likely it's this guy, Dave Fleming. He's awesome. But when we're watching women's doubles, they'll take a step or so off the line, so that they maybe are buying themselves essentially a little bit more time to hit a volley out of the air and attack the ball. And what I've seen, or what I've tried to do, is just in rec games where I can recognize, hey, nobody's really dropping the ball. Like the balls aren't coming into the kitchen to where I'm going to take it out of the air or try to dink it over. I'm finding myself taking a step or so back to try to be, to give myself a little bit more time on a drive, or to be able to attack a little bit more. Like, is that the right approach, or should you always be kind of just stood there at the kitchen line?
I think obviously you're talking about a difference in levels, which is a different in perspective. If you watch Anna Lee, she's off the line a decent amount, right? To work her half tennis swings to help manipulate pace and rotation. I think that the higher level you go, the more you consider pulling off that line, using your drop steps and manipulating the ball the way you can with a little more time. But I will also say I was watching a match from MLP today, and it was Khalif and Howells versus Patrick Quinn and Tardio. And those guys weren't really letting the ball drop at the kitchen line too often. They were doing some pretty fancy stuff at their ankles with speed ups. And a lot of times their speed ups got countered to where they were losing points. So maybe they should have let the ball drop and do some different matriculations of spins and wrist flicks off the bounce. But, to answer it more succinctly, if you're an amateur, get good at hitting low volleys and resetting. If you're getting to be higher level, letting the ball bounce, getting behind it, and maneuvering your backspins and topspins and even speed ups into the body, I think it's a good idea because it does give you more time to really see that ball and make sure you're out in front of it.
All right, one more question for you here. How often, and when I'm asking these questions, I'm coming from the mindset of like rec level play, right? How often should you be changing your serve and like practicing different serves versus just practicing and focusing on one particular type of serve?
The first decision you have to make is your serve consistent? Because service yips are a very obvious thing at the amateur level. And I think every player, whether you're a 3-0, 3-5, 4-0, needs to have that go-to serve that they know is going in critical situations. You got to have that. And if you don't have that, then you start lobbing your serve every time, just so you know it's going in. And people even get the service yips doing lob serves, don't get me wrong. But I do think that's number one. Do you have the replicability that you trust? And then moving into different facets of serving, whether it's a half lob, a full on lob, maybe a slight angle serve, maybe an inverted curl. I think the more tools you have in your tool chest when it comes to serving, the less likely your opponent is to hit an incredible return. And certainly at the 3-0 and 3-5 levels, you get a lot of missed returns. When I'm playing, even here at the Indiana Pickleball League at 4-5 plus, 5-0, 5-5, I really don't see a ton of missed returns, but I see a lack of quality of return that gives me a chance to really attack thirds more. So at the highest level, it just gives you better opportunities on your third. At the lower levels, you get a lot of missed returns. And boy, doesn't it feel good to hit a serve that does not come back over the net or goes wide or goes long? That's like sweet, free point.
Oh, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And so you mentioned the Indiana Pickleball League summer session is getting ready to start. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I just think whether you're a 3-0, 3-5, 4-0, moving into the summer, we've got the ability. The matches are still 8 to 10 p.m., but Third Shot might move the matches up to make it 6 to 8 p.m. But if you go to the Indiana PB League.com, you can go and see the registration of that June league. We actually have a couple weeks off. This is championship week of the spring session. And then on that Monday, June 15th, starts the summer league. So I envision that the Third Shot Pickleball, Go West, Indy Pickleball Club, and Dink House will have the majority of teams, but we hope to see obviously some from Pickle on Penn would be fantastic. IPC, they've got 3 different clubs, so I hope they have a lot of teams that are coming in. But even if you have a summer group that wants to play into our league, reach out as soon as you can because we can get you a team into our league.
Yep. And very proud of our ladies Third Shot 3.5 team. They're going in to play for first or second place in this last session tonight at Go West. So
good luck, ladies.
Hoping
Let's
that
go.
when we wake up tomorrow or when you're listening to this episode, she is, yes. So she's on the roster for tonight.
Go Annie. Who else is on that team? Annie, Kristen?
So tonight the lineup is going to be Kristen, Annie, Emily, and who's the last one? She just played. Tracy.
Let's go,
so
ladies.
They've got the right people. So I'm very excited for them.
Well, I just had a conversation with our 3-0 women's champs, the blue Third Shot Pickleball Bonnie Hoy captain, The blue team won last night to clinch the championship. I said, let's order those banners, baby. Third shot pickleball, women's
Yes.
3-0, Bonnie Hoy and the players. It's going up at the club. So let's go women's 3-5. Let's get it as well.
And I'm going to say one more thing here before we sign off, and that is just something that I took away from my play this morning, and we had a nice chat about it. And I don't know who had mentioned this originally. Maybe Anna Bright said something about this, and it was in my mind. But I went into today's session just thinking, I don't care if I win or lose. I'm going to work on one thing. And we talked about that one thing earlier, which is the split step. And my entire playing today, how I was gauging my success was how often did I split step before my opponent hit the ball, right? And I'd say about 75% of the time I did that. And I felt that my gameplay was so much better. So I want to challenge all of you who are listening that want to consistently get better at pickleball, at the game that we're all obsessed with, that we all love, to make it more enjoyable for yourself is stop focusing on winning and losing and focus on getting better. And one way to do that is to gauge your success on how well you're doing the one thing, not two things, not three things, not four things, not five things, the one thing that you need to be working on. How successful are you during your games, right? And you should measure your success, and your takeaway should be, how well did I do that one thing today?
That's really well said. Ultimately, you can focus on outcome goals or performance goals. Performance goals are way better to be focused on those throughout the course of a match for you to achieve maximum results. If your focus is, I want to win, I want to get to the semifinals, I want to get a higher DUPR, it's not typically going to help you play your best. And by the way, I was watching the French Open. Shout out to Ben Shelton, who won his first round, my nephew, and he's playing in his second round soon enough, tomorrow morning. And, I was listening to Rina Sabalenka, the number one women's player in the world. And she said, literally the outfit matters. And you might notice that I like pink. And thank you to Paddle Tech for giving me this awesome pink sweatshirt. And, I even have this, which is a pink grip. I just really like feeling the way I play in nice pink colors. So just like that background you got on your awesome studio there, Fabian, I just think having things like what your grip feels like, what it looks like, what you're wearing, how it feels, the shoes, are they connected to the outfit? All that stuff matters, and having a great vibe on the court. So once you get that great vibe and you feel like, okay, you got your electrolytes, you got your outfit, and then you go and you play to have the best performance you can, maybe we're focusing on the split step, then let the winning and losing take care of itself.
And you do all the right things and the winning will eventually follow suit, right?
Did you know if you use Paddle Tech and the honey foam, your outcome's going to be better? Because those are the best paddles made in America. For sure. Did I say made in America? Memorial Day we just finished?
You did.
Yeah. Buy Paddle Tech. Where can they go? Paddletech.com. Put in the Ripsman code. 15% off. Let's go. 3SP gets you a discount as well.
That's awesome. Love that. I'll give a shout out to RPM, Aereo. Love both those paddles. Have performed really well with both of them, but specifically the last tournament that I played in, the only one that got me gold is the Aereo Cyclone with the nanograph grit and the pulse foam technology. So Fabian 15 gets 15% off one of these bad boys. And I was wearing my Tyrol shoes. Incredible. So good. Love those.
So where can they sign up for This is Pickleball?
So good thing that you mentioned that, Rick. If you're still listening, here's what you got to do. Wherever you listen to podcasts, go ahead and subscribe or follow This is Pickleball Podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at This is Pickleball Podcast. We are This is Pickleball Podcast on all social media platforms that start and end in the name Instagram and Facebook. We're not really on X or TikTok or anything like that. But also, if you're a listener of the show, and you haven't commented, liked, reviewed, followed, go ahead and do all that. That helps us grow this channel and helps us bring it to a bigger audience. I am bummed, I will say, that we were supposed to have a very special guest with us today. And I just think, pro schedules are pretty crazy. And with the short week because of the Memorial Day holiday, I'm not surprised that maybe they had some things to tend to before MLP in Columbus this coming weekend, but I'm sure we'll get them back on in no time. But for all of you listening, thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. Remember, this is Pickleball.